What's up guys, Mike here from Ekim Knives, and I'm back with another video. This one is Q&A number 9. For those of you that are new here, the Q&A series is a question and answer where you guys ask the question, preferably knife making related, doesn't necessarily have to be, and I do my best to answer them with the experience that I have. If I can't answer it, I'll try and point you in the right direction, or if I don't know the answer, simply I'm not going to BS you, I'm not going to give you false information. You know, this is to help you guys. And sometimes me too, because a lot of times I'm learning in the comments down below as well. If you have a question for the next episode, put it in the comments down below, and that's the first place I check for next week's episode. Okay, jumping right into it, Marshall Customs asks, what knife do you EDC? That's a simple one. My prototype frame lock Albatross. This is the one that 90% of the time I have it on me. As you can see, it's used and abused. It's a prototype, so I do exactly what a prototype is intended to, and I beat on it. Every single day I carry it, I use it, and I beat it up, and it's got all gunk on the blade and everything. Needs to be sharpened very badly because, like I said, I use it a lot. But that's to test to make sure that when I make a blade and put it out in the wild for somebody else to enjoy, that they're going to get a quality blade that's going to do what it's supposed to do. So most of the time I have one of mine, and lately it's been this one. Now, naturally, because it's a prototype, you want to find what needs to be changed, what needs to be altered and fixed and made better. And that's what I've done in the production, I guess you can call it, or my customs. This is the latest one I just built the other day. Same knife, but this one has all the latest updates that make it just a little bit better. Show you this side too. And of course this one's out of fancy Damascus and got nice materials and nice action and everything. So that's got all the basic updates. Now, I don't always carry my stuff. Before I was a knife maker, I was a knife collector. I wasn't into really custom knives because I didn't have the money for them. So I collected production knives. And I also didn't have the money to have any shelf queens, so I collected them and I used them. And I still do that. I still have my Spydercos, like my Paramilitary 2, my Mannix 2. I didn't bring them out to the shop today. They're all inside. Zero Tolerance is another favorite of mine, the 0562. I do carry that one quite often as well. So I still use and enjoy even budget model blades. I have a few Kershaws that are the CQC6, I think, the Emerson model. I still carry that one too, and it's a $30 knife. But like I said, I have a love for all things sharp. I can appreciate it. Okay, next up, Autistic Albatross. Do you view knife making as a viable means of supporting yourself financially? That's a really good question. And the short answer is going to be yes. But there is a huge caveat to that. If you want to use knife making as your full-time job. Now, most of you know I drive a truck for a living. That's my real job. I do this on the side. I do it because I love it. So any free time I get, I go in the shop and I make knives and I do videos and stuff like that. With the hope, I shouldn't say hope, with the knowledge that one day, if I put in enough work, that I can make this my full-time job. And not only my full-time job, but make more money at this than my other job while doing something I love. Now, the question you have to ask yourself is how much blood, sweat, and tears are you willing to put into it? That's the honest truth. Are you willing to work for 5 years and not get paid for it? Are you willing to spend all your free time, take your PlayStation and throw it in the garbage or sell it on eBay? I had a motorcycle. I sold my motorcycle to buy my milling machine. So what I'm trying to say is, if you want it to be a way to financially support yourself, you have to go all in. 100%. Give it everything you got. Because if you give it half of your effort, you're going to get a 10% return. So you really got to go for it. And that's what I've been trying to do. It started off as a hobby, and then it kind of progressed into a business, and now all I can think about is dreams of going full-time and dreams of owning a huge knife company and selling 10,000 knives a month. Can it be done? Absolutely. There are guys that have done it already, but you've really got to go for it. Put in the work, take the risks, eat, sleep, and drink your knife brand and your knife making and knives in general, and you'll get there too. I have a long road ahead of me, but I'm not scared. I'm never going to quit, ever. Okay, a little less serious. William Porter asks, where do you send your knives for heat treat? This is a common question. I get it all the time, but that's okay. No problem. I like to help out. He says East Coast specifically. I'm on the East Coast, guys. You know I'm out on Long Island in New York. I send my knives to Peter's Heat Treat. They're right here in Pennsylvania, one state away. Their prices are reasonable. They do great work, and their return time is reasonable as well. For those of you on the West Coast, there's also True Grit. I hear does great work. I've never used them before, but I hear they're pretty good. And with reasonable prices and all the wonderful things that you hope to get from a heat treater. There are a handful of other options. I think there's one in Texas. And of course there are a few machine shops. But if you can, try to go for one that has experience with knives. There are plenty of machine shops that heat treat steel for jobs, but they might not know the intricacies of heat treating knife steel. So you want to try and go that route. Like I said, I use Peter's. Talk to Brad. Okay, next up we got Alex Swanson. Now Alex asked a great big long question, but for the sake of the video I'm not going to read the whole thing and stumble through it. So if you guys want to just pause it and you can read it. Now Alex said, I don't want to downplay his comment at all. Alex said some really nice stuff about me and I really appreciate it, Alex. Thank you so much. But to get to his question, he's saying, now, I'm not saying that I can't make a knife with basic tools, as all I have is my dad's bag of tools, but would it be possible to make a knife like the Agitator or any other model similar to yours with a hacksaw, Home Depot file, battery-powered drill, and blood, sweat, and tears? Blood, sweat, and tears. You got the right idea, Alex. Okay, first I want to say absolutely you can. Will it be difficult to make a frame lock with files? Yeah, that's going to be really tough. That's going to be a huge challenge. Actually, there's somebody that's done it. They made a folding knife with files and basic hand tools. Kudos to that guy, because that's more work than I'm willing to take on. But a friction folder like my Agitator, and I'll pop in a picture here so you can see it, absolutely that's doable with hand tools and the blood, sweat, and tears that you mentioned. A great start is check out my good buddy Tim Troyer from Sugar Creek Forge. That's how I learned to make friction folders, and in his tutorial he shows you how to do it with basic tools, backyard heat treating and everything. It's an excellent tutorial. If I find the link, I'll put it down below in the description. Okay, so yes, absolutely. Put in the work, use your hand tools, and you'll get there. A lot of times it's even better than power tools when you're just starting out, because hand tools you get to creep up on it. Power tools is easy to sneeze and then you blew your grind and now you got to start over. So that's a good way to start. Okay, next up, Spencer Richardson. What brand of sandpaper do you recommend for hand sanding? I've heard that 3M is not very good. I would love to hear your input. Well, Spencer, you're absolutely correct that 3M, well, I'm sure it's great for other builds or other projects, I should say. It's not that great for hardened steel. My recommended brands are these two here, the red and the black. Now I'll show you the back of it so you can see what type it is. This one is Black Ice from Norton. That's the black one, and I get this from TrueGrit.com. And this one is Redline Rhino Wet, the red one, which I get from Supergrit.com. And the big difference between that and 3M or the generic stuff you buy at the store is when you're sanding hardened steel, this is going to last twice as long as your store-bought stuff. Okay? Now, if you're in a pinch and that's all you can get your hands on, by all means, use the 3M. You're just going to have to use a little bit more to get the same results. But if you want the good stuff, get the Black Ice or the Red Line Rhino Wet. So. Okay, off to the next one. Tyler Clark asks, for the next Q&A, what is the first power tool you would buy if you were starting out knife making again? Well, I'm pretty confident that I made some good choices when I first started out in terms of buying which tools that I was going to need. I did a lot of research on it. Of course, I'm going to recommend a grinder, right? But since this is a common question, I get it pretty often, and a lot of you guys are just starting out, I'm going to give you the first 3 or 4 that I started out with that I think will really accelerate your progress. Okay, number 1, of course, is the grinder. For me, that was the Craftsman 2x42. I've heard guys are having trouble getting them. Let me know in the comments down below. If you guys have looked for the Craftsman 2x42 and you can't find it, maybe if you found another brand that's a similar model or just an affordable grinder altogether, put it in the comments down below so these guys can get their hands on one. But I started with the Craftsman 2x42, still a great little machine if you can find one. I also bought a Ryobi drill press, which is a $100 drill press I got from Home Depot. So that was $150 for the grinder, $100 for the drill press, which I still have. It's over here in the corner. Whoop, Sandpaper's attacking me. We'll just do that. Yeah, so I bought the drill press for $100. Still works great, and it got me pretty far for that $100. And I also bought a Harbor Freight Portaband, which, for those of you that are still cutting it out with a angle grinder and those cutoff wheels and that are obnoxiously loud and throw stuff everywhere and get everything really hot, that Portaband was $100 as well, and I just jam it in a vise to hold it. It's well worth the money. Once you use one of those, you'll never go back to the cutoff wheel ever again, believe me. So those 3, I'd say, were really accelerated my progress and can really help you out too. So you're talking $350 for those 3 items. The 4th power tool that I bought was this guy right here, over here, that little orange buffer from Harbor Freight. It's like a $50 buffer or around about there. I don't know what it costs nowadays. The bearings are long gone in that thing and it's seen better days. But I got that specifically for polishing stuff like, well, that's G10. Hold on. You go digging through the handle material pile here. There we go. Stuff like this. If you're going to work with kieranite or something that needs to be buffed and polished, you're going to need a buffer. And that's a good option. It's not terribly high powered, so it's going to be a little more difficult to hurt yourself with it because it's a very dangerous tool, but it'll get you pretty far. It'll give you a nice polish if you want to experiment with this different finishes. Is it necessary? No, because you could do this by hand as well. So I would stick with drill press, cheap drill press. You can get a Harbor Freight one too, it doesn't really matter. Just something that drills kind of straight. The Portaband was excellent, really helped me with cutting material and steel, and of course the grinder. Those 3 things. Okay, hopefully that helped you. Next up is Caden Sunquist. Hey Mike, love your videos. Oh, thanks Caden. I have a Q&A question if you don't mind. I don't know of any good options for putting a brand new edge on a knife and would love to hear your thoughts. Okay, I'm pretty sure that what Caden's talking about is he's ground a knife and it needs the first edge that's ever been put on it. Now, if you ground it, and I like to get my knives around 10 to 15 thousandths of an inch thick for stainless steel, it's just slightly thicker for carbon steel. If you get your geometry really well, if you nail that edge thickness, it's going to be a little easier to put your edge on. So if you're grinding a little thick, you're making some huge camp chopper, like one of these things, you know, this huge kukri thing, and you have 40 or 50 thou behind the edge, it's going to be much more difficult to get an edge on something that thick. Now, of course, this is nothing new. Of course, I'm sure you guys knew that already. But to get the initial edge on, your best bet is to use the grinder itself. Now, if you go back and look in my How to Make a Fixed Blade series, I used the flat platen and I put the initial V on. It doesn't have to be sharp. You just want to remove some material, so when you use the manual method to sharpen it up, you're not there for a month. I've also done a separate video on using how to sharpen it straight off the grinder with no stones or anything else. Shaving sharp right off the grinder, and I use the slack portion of the belt and a leather belt as well. So that's an option. Check out that video. Or if you're just using manual methods, I would go for a Japanese waterstone and a very coarse grit. So maybe like a 400 grit and then a 1000 grit to finish it off. Oops, sorry, my phone's going off. Sorry about that. Just kind of silence that guy. That was Jason. Hey, Jason. So, yeah, so coarse Japanese waterstone if you're going to do it manually, and then finish it up with a fine or your selected method. If you do Spyderco Sharpmaker, Edge Pro, Wicked Edge, whatever, any of those are fine. But getting that initial V is the hard part. So, hopefully that helped. Okay, last one for tonight. Michael Stevenson. Great vid, great answers. Thanks, Michael. What is the best method to drill a perpendicular hole for pinning into a fixed blade with a taper tang? I cannot seem to have figured out a good way to make it align with the scales when the tang is tapered. Okay, Michael. This is a tough one because I don't make taper tangs. I haven't made any taper tangs anyway, but that doesn't mean I haven't researched it. So I'm going to try and point you in the right direction. From what I've seen so far, everybody that does make a taper tang, and guys, when I'm talking about a taper tang, so let's say you got a knife like this old beater here. The tang is literally tapered, so it's thin at the butt end of the knife. So now, if you go to put it on a flat surface when you're drilling it, it's going to sit like this because this side's so thin. So now when you go to shoot the drill in, guess what? It's going on an angle, and that's no good. So what guys are doing, and to answer your question, Michael, is they're making a jig that holds the tang, holds the blade, and aligns it so you can put it on your drill press table. You see what I'm saying? And that jig will bring it up here, so now you can shoot the perpendicular hole regardless of how tapered your tang is. I don't know if you can just go out and buy one or if they're easy to make. I'll pop in a picture if I can find one. I'm sure there's one out there. So maybe give you some ideas or some direction on where to go and how to drill your taper tang. So that's pretty much it, guys. Again, if you have any questions for the next Q&A, put them in the comments down below and I'll do my best to answer them on the next one. So that's it for tonight, guys. This is Mike here from Ekim Knives, and I'll catch you on the next video.